Step 7. Decision making. Once you have completed the healing for that event using the breathing techniques, it is time to change your attention and focus on the decision making. It is important to note that the decision making starts in the rational mind, but should get to the energetic body. This means that your decision making is going to take place at 2 levels. One level is your mind. You think and even state out loud your decision, which is what you are deciding to change in your life and in your being. The other level is the energetic command that will replace the former energetic command that was controlling your life until the time when you started to recapitulate. Let's look at an example. Let us go back with Mary and her recapitulation. She has seen the painful event with her father. She has relived it, and she has seen the event again and used the proper breathing to restore her energetic body. Now what? Decision making. Remember how much Mary had been suffering from her incapacity to express her feelings? Now she has recapitulated the event when she made the promise or energetic command of never showing her feelings to others. Mary's decision could be something like this. From this moment on, I will not hide my feelings anymore. Whatever it takes, I will express my feelings whenever I need to. Fear is not going to stop me. It is not easy to transmit the intensity and the power of a decision like this. You would need to be Mary after a whole life of suffering from the incapacity to communicate with others, especially with those whom she loved. Imagine her, after 30 years of emotional solitude, shouting from the bottom of her heart her decision as her freedom declaration. Thus, making the decision is something that you are going to shout inside your box. But shouting your decision in full awareness is just the external part of the feat. You must feel it with all your being, with your whole body. There should not be any space for doubt. The intensity of your feeling and complete conviction is what makes your decision not just a decision, but an energetic command. Step 8. Dreaming, not doings. This is your last step inside the box. The 2 that follow it will take place outside the box. The not doings of recapitulation or liberated actions are those actions that before the process of recapitulation were beyond a person's capability due to traumatic events that left damage in the energetic body. In this step, just after decision making, you are going to dream yourself performing actions that were impossible for you in the past. These actions are not compatible with your personal history, but are compatible with what you have done in your recapitulation. And this is why we call them not doings. Another way to say it is that these liberated actions are specific manifestations of your decision making. In Mary's case, the liberated actions she could dream would be related to the situations in which she had been troubled because of the promise she had been fulfilling. Therefore, she could dream herself telling her relatives the feelings she has always had about them. She might tell her mother how much she has loved her and how much she missed being touched and embraced by her when she was a child. She would dream herself expressing how important her mother was in her life and how difficult it was for her to handle her mother's rejection when she was 5 years old. She could also tell her that she understands now that her mother didn't mean to hurt her, but that it took 30 years to understand that. She would dream herself telling her former lover how much she loved him and explaining why she could never tell him. She would dream about the people she loves at the present, telling them what she feels. She would imagine phoning some of them who do not live nearby, just to tell them that they are very important in her life. She would dream herself challenging one of the teachers in the school where she works, a woman who spent time spreading gossip about her just for fun. In her dreaming, not doings, Mary would see herself telling the fucking bitch that she is tired of supporting in silence all the gossip that has been building around herself, and warning this woman about the serious possibility of losing her teeth if the gossiping doesn't stop. These are just some examples for the dreaming not doings step. As you can see, while dreaming the liberated actions, you give yourself the freedom to dream anything without worrying if it is appropriate or not, if it is possible or not, or if it is convenient or not. There will be time for those considerations later on. In this step, let your mind and feelings go freely to those things you have always needed to do. Dreaming liberated actions fulfills two main purposes. First, to test different possibilities, feelings that we might have inside while dreaming ourselves taking such action. By noticing what we feel, we may discover more clearly what our real being truly needs. Second, and more important, we dream this way to open an energetic door to a new time in our life. We are settling the internal conditions for the liberated actions that we will perform in our real life. The dreaming is the powerful first step toward carrying out the not doings in our everyday life. Now let's see about those questions that are spinning around in your head. What do you mean by dreaming the not doings? Do you mean to imagine? How can we dream at will? Well, I could have said imagine the not doings, but what we should do is closer to dreams than to thoughts. What is the main difference between dreams and imagination? They are not that different, except for the fact that when we dream, we feel everything as if it were real. Actually, in the dream, what happens is real. This is why you dream the liberated acts in this step. To achieve this element of reality, you dream on purpose. What makes you dream and not just imagine is that you feel what you are dreaming. The point is that your purpose is going to come from your heart and not from your mind, which means you are not going to control your dream. Your feeling is going to set the direction, and your body is going to do the rest. To say it in a simple way, do as if you were imagining, but feel as if you were dreaming, and take the control of your dream out of the rational mind. Again, it is easier to do this than to understand it. One final very important task related to your work in the box. Take notes about the decisions you make and the not doings you dream. This material is going to be essential for the last steps. Chapter 10. Steps 9 and 10. Living purposefully. Step 9. Accomplishing the not doings of recapitulation. Now you have finished your work inside the box. Strictly speaking, you may say you have finished your recapitulation. However, the AVP technique for recapitulation is not yet completed. There are two remaining steps you should undertake. For the moment, your energetic body is relieved, and stronger. Those ugly holes have been filled by the recapitulation. But do not be too confident. That relief, confidence, and extra energy that you feel is just a patch. It may fail if you don't do something about it. What else could we expect? Those holes have been there for so long. Probably you would have been able to heal those wounds if you have not started with those energy-wasting routines right after you got wounded. But that is not what happened. Instead of a prompt healing, you tried to hide your wounds under energy-wasting routines. The only result was a reinforcement of the holes and energy loss. And this is the way it has been for many years. This is why a patch is not enough. You have healed yourself, but you need to reinforce the healing the same way you reinforced the wounds so many years ago. This is achieved through persistently practicing the liberated acts or not doings of those energy-wasting routines. In order to do so, you are going to take some of the liberated actions you dreamed during your recapitulation, though not all of them can be treated in the same manner. On the one hand, some of the not doings that you dreamed cannot be accomplished with your physical body. For example, in dreaming liberated actions, you have embraced or asked for forgiveness of some important people from your past who are not alive anymore. On the other hand, You have dreamed deliberated acts that would be possible to accomplish but would not be convenient. For instance, you have acknowledged to your former lover your unconditional love and have told all the truth that you did not tell in the right moment. Now that former love of your life is out of your world. Maybe she is married and is not thinking about you. Even though it would be nice for you to have an understanding with her, that chance has gone. You have done that in your heart, and that is not enough. Trying to go further and have an actual meeting with her probably would create more problems than the ones you are trying to solve. In such cases, when the person is not in your world anymore, you heal your heart. And this is possible because he or she is still living inside you. This turns our attention to the need for balancing with common sense our commitment to accomplishing the not doings. There are some liberated actions that you have dreamed that you can accomplish only in your feelings. Example, not doings with people who have died. There are others that would not be convenient, not doings with the former partner who is not in your world anymore. Finally, there are others that you may and should do. These are the ones you are going to practice. Keep following Mary's case. Let's see from all the not doings that she dreamed, which would be the ones that she should accomplish. First, she is not going to look for her former lover in order to try to have an arrangement with him, because that relationship belongs to a time that is completely gone. Second, she is going to face and resolve the problem with the gossip monger once and for all, but she probably will think carefully of a more tactful way to do it before she acts. And she is going to talk with her parents and friends, expressing openly the feelings she hid for so long. It should be clear that these are the examples I am imagining for a person like Mary. But this certainly does not mean that these specific examples of which not doings to pursue and the ways to pursue them are the only valid course of action for everyone. Each person, each circumstance is different. Therefore, deciding what not doings you are going to pursue in your life is your responsibility and no one else's. Now, in the same way I emphasize that your selection of not doings should be balanced with common sense, I also emphasize that you should be demanding with yourself. Do not cheat yourself by choosing only soft not doings. Actually, there are no such things as soft or hard not doings, but there are false not doings and real not doings. Do the real thing or do nothing at all and resign yourself to live without power. Remember that the not doings are a challenge, and the bet on the table is your unique life. So you had better not take chances with them. There's one more important thing to be aware of when you are going to accomplish deliberated actions. Pursuing your not doings is an arrangement that you make with yourself. You are not going to take deliberated actions to change others. You should perform these actions as an expression of your freedom. You are not looking for reward. We could even say that deliberated actions are our free gesture for spirit. I am mentioning this because I have seen people who, when the moment of taking deliberated action arrives, unconsciously try to use those actions to buy others' responses. Such is the case if after a life of hating your father, you recapitulate your relationship with him. Then, in the decision-making, decide to release the rancor. In dreaming the not doings, you see yourself embracing your father. When you finally attempt actually to embrace the man for the first time in your life, he does not respond in the way you expected because he is not used to physical expressions of affection. This causes you to feel disappointed and angry. You think, what is the use of trying to heal my relationship with him if he is going to continue being the same callous person his whole life? At this point, all your good intentions to heal your life through recapitulation are gone. Unfortunately, this kind of situation is common in dealing with relatives or partners. We are changing because we are secretly hoping that by doing so, we are going to have what we want from others. Big mistake. The liberated actions are a gesture of freedom. You are healing your energetic body. It is your freedom that you are using. So you must do it without expecting any reward more than healing your heart and changing yourself. We cannot rule other people's lives using recapitulation or any other means, because ruling other people's lives goes against the most sacred right, the freedom each of us has to do with the freedom each of us has to do what we want and what we can, and the freedom to receive the consequences of our actions. It is true that often when we change, the world around us seems to change as if by magic. Our change gives us new eyes to see the people around us in new ways. I have heard many beautiful stories of love and reconciliation as a consequence of practicing liberated actions. Nevertheless, we should not assume that these results will come about. That such things might happen should not be our motivation for the action. If it does become our impetus, then our quest for freedom becomes conditioned to other people's reactions, and that is nonsense. The healing responsibility is yours, and the results are yours. Do not misunderstand what the real target is. Step 10. Continuity, the master's step. Once you have accomplished the appropriate not doings, you will feel the closing of a circle. That circle was opened when decisive events of your life took place, and only now, after so much time and effort, is the circle closed. For the second time after having finished the recapitulation itself, you are going to think the work is over for you. You have completed and closed the circle, and that is often felt as the end of the recapitulation process. For the second time, this impression is wrong. You have not practiced the not doings for a long enough period of time. So the question is, for how long should the not doing continue? How would you know when you do not need them anymore? The answer is simple. You will never stop practicing the not doings of your recapitulation. They will disappear by themselves when they become a normal part of what you are and how you live. Since you don't know when that will happen, you should keep practicing them on purpose. That is what you need. That is what you want. And that is what you will do. Practice the liberated acts. By doing so, you will discover that acting on purpose is the major art in life, the art of living purposefully. The master step is continuity. Continuity now for the rest of your life. Continuity even when the not doings become a normal part of your life. Because then, at that later time, new not doings already will be challenging you, and you will accept the challenge and keep fighting. You will know then how it is to be a warrior of the spirit, and you will be happy, because you will know in the secret region of your silent knowledge that the path of the warrior has always been yours. Chapter 11. Additional procedures. Preparatory exercises. In our workshops, before entering the box to begin recapitulation, we complete different exercises to prepare both the physical and the energetic body for the task of recapitulating. Some of the exercises are designed in relation to the area or season of life that is going to be recapitulated in that session. There are exercises related to the prenatal state, infancy, childhood, adolescence, youth, adulthood, and so on. In addition, these are useful exercises for friendships, love relationships, sex, work, and many other areas. The other category of preparatory practices is the non-season, non-area related exercises. They are designed to provoke states of heightened awareness or the connection with powerful fields of energy, especially the grandfather fire. That may help us to achieve our goal. Within this last category, I have selected some exercises you may use in order to achieve a more focused and more intense state of attention, so your work inside the box will be more productive. Regular physical exercise. Gymnastics, jogging, and warming up exercises are very good to do before entering the box. Approximately 25 minutes could be enough, depending on your physical condition. The optimum level of warming up is achieved at the moment when your body just starts to sweat a little bit. At the same time, this level should not be reached too fast. It is much better to move slowly but continuously than to warm up abruptly. Ritual with photos. This practice is both a physical warming up and a ritual to push your body to remember. Required materials: 1 picture of you. You need not appear alone. From the period of the event you are going to recapitulate. A glass on which to prop the photo. 2 simple candles. 2 small plates to put the candles on. Matches or a lighter. A tape recorder. And an appropriate tape of drumming. For this exercise, place your photo over your box, leaning it against the glass or any other object to keep it in a standing position. Place the lit candles on plates on each side of the photo, though not too close. You should be in front of the box, close enough to see the picture while you start to move, perhaps jogging in place. In the background, the drumming music should be playing. Instead of the tape recorder, you may also do this exercise with the assistance of a friend who will drum. The main thing is that you use the sound of the drum to connect yourself with the content of the photo through your movement. As the music continues, you gradually increase your speed and intensity. From the moment of starting very slowly to the moment of picking up speed when your body begins to sweat. 10 to 20 minutes should pass. While you move, look at the picture and use the drumming to block your thoughts. Try to travel to the reality inside the picture and feel what is in there. When your body is sweating, slow down, decrease your intensity, and then enter the box. Exercises with fire. If you have the chance to have a bonfire, you can empower your recapitulation by asking the fire to be your guide during the whole process. To be effective, this should be done with heart. Do not ask it if you cannot feel it from your heart. There are several practices you may follow using the fire. Light your fire with full respect, feeling the fire as a sacred presence. Join the spirit of the ancient Toltecs and many other indigenous groups, calling the fire grandfather fire as a sign of respect and love. Each time you light your fire, talk to him with real words and not just with thoughts. Ask for his company, advice, and protection during your practices. Dancing around the fire while drumming music plays could serve both as a warm-up procedure and as a personal ritual of giving your dance to the fire in a sacred offering. The more you stay in the company of the fire, and the more you give your offerings to him, the more the fire will be your company and guide. After your dance, sit down before the fire. Tell him, Grandfather Fire, just before my recapitulation this night, I want to confess how my life has been and what I have felt during. Here you mention the period of time or area you are going to recapitulate. Then you start to open your heart and reveal to the fire what you have lived and what you have felt. You should talk out loud. If you are recapitulating with others, begin with, before you and before all my companions here. The most important part is that you dare to reach and express your feelings. Talking to the fire requires words that come from the heart, not from the mind. The more sincere and the more intimate your confession is, the more powerful your recapitulation will be. Frequency of confession will depend on several factors, such as the frequency of your recapitulation sessions and the clarity of your connection with the fire. If you are recapitulating every night, do it every 3 days. The burning the box ritual. When you have finished the recapitulation of your life, a ritual representing the moment you are passing through is appropriate. On the last night of your recapitulation, just before dawn, you are going to burn your box. Deciding when you have finished your process is not an easy matter. Since you will never be able to recapitulate absolutely all the events of your life, but only the meaningful ones, there will always be the possibility of recapitulating in more detail. You may even spend the rest of your life trying to achieve a more thorough practice. Of course, that is not the idea. What you need to accomplish is the general recapitulation of your entire life. This means having recapitulated the main issues related to important relationships you have had in your life. Deciding when you have done so is necessarily a personal decision. You are going to do your best to get a balanced result. Not too much, not too little. And still, there is no way to be absolutely sure that your decision about when you have finished was correct. Don't worry. That's the way it is, not only in recapitulation, but also in life in general. We can do our best, but the mind is going to be there asking, are you sure you did it well? Are you sure that was the real thing? Are you sure you're not deceiving yourself? There's no way to give a definitive answer to such questions. It is merely the mind asking the mind. The bottom line is that there is no way for the mind to completely satisfy the mind. Fortunately, the new Toltec warriors know that all human beings have the heart to face those unsolvable mysteries. Some indigenous peoples are used to saying that the real thoughts may come only from the heart. It is not possible to define what the heart is, but it is there anyway. All we can do is try to do our best and ask our heart, are you satisfied? A feeling of contentment and satisfaction will mean yes. A feeling of dissatisfaction will simply mean no. In the middle of the mystery, we will make our decision, and there is no way to guarantee the victory. That is why we are warriors. But let's say our heart says, yes, I have finished my recapitulation. During the last night of your process, this is what you will do. You will leave for this last night some meaningful events that are pending. This night, you will not sleep. Keep recapitulating until 2 hours before dawn. Get out of your box and look at it for the last time. That box represents your past and all you have been until that moment. You are about to cross a threshold. Once you cross it, nothing will be the same. You will not be the same. You will disassemble your box with care. What you are disassembling is the structure of your old ego, which is about to die. While you do this, think of the life you are leaving behind. Using tools, break the planks into pieces that you can burn in a bonfire. Obviously, the care you will put into this work also means you are doing it in such a way as not to injure yourself. Next, you go to the fire. Thank Grandfather Fire for his company and guidance. Tell him how you feel on this last magical night, just before the dawn of your new life. One by one, throw into the fire the pieces of your recapitulation box. You can even shout the decisions you have made during the recapitulation. See your old energy-wasting routines burning in the flames. Your resentments are there. All the things that should die so you really can live. After throwing the pieces of your box, the pieces of your past, into the fire, the last thing you will do just before dawn is dance before the fire for the last time in your recapitulation adventure. Accompanied by the sound of drumming, express through your dance all the efforts and struggles you have passed through as you searched for your freedom. With your dance, say goodbye to your old self and to your personal history. You will be reborn. But this time, for the first time in your life, you will choose how to be and how to live. When the first rays of the sun touch the world, see a line crossing the fire in front of you. That is the boundary of your personal history. Concentrate all your energy, feelings, and thoughts in a final action. Run and cross that boundary toward your freedom. You can jump over the fire or cross the line beside him. However you do it, put your whole heart into the action. Shout your gesture to the universe. I am free. The light of the new day will be your baptism. Life will be waiting for you. Go ahead, because there is no time to waste. Activities to balance recapitulation effects. During the time of recapitulation, you will notice several effects in your life. As with any change, these effects will require a period of time and even a strategy for you to adopt to and properly handle them. The changes resulting from recapitulation are, in general, positive. Extra energy, the chance to break old energy-wasting routines, and the opportunity to choose, on purpose, new ways to respond to the challenges of your life are just some of the most valuable. Some of the changes are going to happen during your recapitulation, and others will come later. The work of recapitulation leads your being to a new time. Changing is an intrinsic part of the process. Nevertheless, you should know that in doing recapitulation, you are entering into a battle between two opposite impulses present inside you: the impulse to change and the impulse to remain the same. On the one hand, your being of energy is, as are the rest of the fields of energy in the universe, naturally oriented to change and movement. On the other hand, your ego's everyday work is to try to keep and reinforce all the structure of thoughts and routines on which it is based. Because of this, certain routines of your ego are going to feel threatened. The part of you that does not want to change is going to try to stop your work in recapitulation, sometimes making you think you are very tired. In addition, short periods of fear, worry, or desperation may occur. As a general rule, those thoughts will come sooner or later. But also as a general rule, the little voice in your head is going to be lying. Do not give up. Instead of giving up and thinking thoughts of worry, pursue activities that help you to cleanse your mind and spirit. Not only during the recapitulation, but after the recapitulation as well. Your old ego is going to try to pull you back to the old ways that were so comfortable. The more you keep giving attention to that little voice, the more the ego and its driving force, the fear, are going to be strengthened. You should be ready to resist their attack. At the same time, if you have a good strategy, those attacks are not a big deal. Again, what you need is to include some activities in your life that pull your attention to the proper side, your luminous being. The kinds of activities I am talking about should play the roles of balancing you in relation to the possible temporary attacks of your old ego. If you practice them, the frequency and intensity of those attacks are going to decrease or even disappear. These activities could be of different varieties. The following suggestions will give you some useful ideas to start with. Outdoor activities. This is the first and main item you should include in your list of activities, complementary to the recapitulation. Any kind of healthy activity in nature is going to have a very beneficial influence on you. The healing effect of interacting with nature comes from the fact that nature does not express self-importance as we do. Nature reflects the Great Spirit. It is as simple as that. The more we respectfully interact with nature, the more we are going to be interacting with the Great Spirit. When they are close enough, fields of energy interact with and influence each other. Being with nature is going to affect positively your energetic body. Your interaction can take many different forms, such as long, silent walks, tree climbing. Be very careful and loving with both the tree and yourself. Hiking hills or mountains, engaging in all kinds of nature-friendly sports, playing games with your friends, painting in the woods, maybe landscapes, silently observing of nature, trying to learn and imitate some of its ways, practicing some personal ritual in nature that helps you balance your energy, dancing before the fire, making offerings, meditating, doing Tai Chi, creating music or poems. Feel free to design your own activities as well. Exercises in the city. Not only in the country can you engage in activities to balance your energy in relation to the effects of recapitulation. If you notice that heavy thoughts often appear, you can do something about them even in the city. Seek activities with no other purpose but to enjoy yourself. Maybe you can go to that restaurant that you like so much, but which you don't visit often because it's expensive. Spend money on something that you really like. Go back to the gym you have left for so long and take care of your body again. Visit that old friend or relative whose company is so good for you, but whom you haven't visited recently because you've had no time. If you go to the movies, choose a film that will be good for your spirit. Do not spend your time watching TV news or talking with people who always dwell on disasters or worries. Seek the company of children and play with them. Do something good for others just for the sake of doing it. Set aside specific periods of time, however many hours per day or per week, to practice the golden rule of taking care of your energy. Do not criticize, do not judge, and do not complain. Now you have some examples of what to do to balance the effects of recapitulation. If you include some of them in your strategy, the fear-inspiring game of the ego is not going to give you big problems. Remember to make time for these balancing activities both during and after the recapitulation process. Recapitulation technique for single events. Recapitulation is a useful technique to restore damage to or loss of internal balance, even if the damage is small or recent. Actually, it is much better to recapitulate an event when the effects of that event are still fresh than to wait until a wound becomes serious. Because of this, the practice of recapitulation is going to remain a powerful healing technique even after we have finished the recapitulation of our entire life. When something that puts our energy out of balance happens, it is helpful to recapitulate that event. Doing so will enable you not only to rebalance your energy more easily, but also to handle the external results of that experience in a healthier way. Thus, you can prevent creating new energetic wounds in your energetic body. A simple example of this could be when you have a serious fight with a person whom you love. Maybe you hurt that person, or you feel hurt by him or her. Recapitulating that event is going to provide a deeper realization of what happened during the event, which will cause you to stop losing energy. And this way, you will be in much better condition to have a healing understanding with that person. For this kind of situation or others that call for the recapitulation of single events, we have a special technique. You do not have your box for recapitulation, and it would be nonsense to build a new box for each new anti-energetic exchange you may have. For this technique, choose a quiet place It is preferable, although not essential, that the place be dark so that you may concentrate easily. Sit down in a chair with your back against the chair's back. Your spine should be straight. You may also sit on the floor, cross-legged, with your back against the wall. A chair or wall is not necessary if you are accustomed to sitting down with your spine straight while leaning your back against something. Now that you are located in the appropriate place and time, just follow the steps listed here. 1. Begin circular breathing, breathing technique 4 described below, and continue for some minutes while you try to travel back to the event. As you move your head very slowly at the beginning, and then a little bit faster, see images related to the event and the people involved passing beside you at great speed, like moving pictures on a wall of a tunnel you are entering. Keep doing this until you feel an internal connection with the feelings of that event. 2. Stop the circular breathing and begin following steps 4 through 8 of the 10-step technique. When you get to step 6, energetic restoration, you may work with breathing techniques 1 and 2, or with sweeping breathing, breathing technique 3, described below. 3. After your recapitulation, follow the normal sequence of not doings and continuity as you would in general recapitulation. Breathing techniques. Now it is time to learn exactly how to perform the special breathing techniques for recapitulation. It is important to understand that these techniques should be used only for recapitulation. To use them otherwise will cause them to lose part of their power, and the result will be significantly diminished. I have mentioned 2 main techniques, one before, Technique 1 and Technique 2, related to recovering and releasing, respectively. Now we will discuss these main techniques, together with others that are very useful. Note that all the breathing should be done with the eyes closed, and, except for the circular breathing, should be done through the nose. Breathing Technique 1. Name. While we call this Technique 1, it is also known as inhalation, because that is what is emphasized. When used, it is used in the moment right after entering the box, step 3, as initial breathing, and during the restoration phase, step 6, when required. Purpose. 1. The breathing is to provide the focus and state of attention appropriate for recapitulation. 2. In the restoration phase, it is used to recover lost energy or to recover a quality of our being that we lost in the past. Example, joy, confidence. Duration, as required, according to your own feeling. Procedure. Before starting the breathing, look straight ahead and expel all the air in your lungs. Turn your head to face the right. Then, while you turn your head to face left, inhale, coordinating your inhalation with the movement so that by the time you are facing fully to the left, your lungs and abdomen are full. Move your head to face straight ahead again, holding your breath. Exhale when you are looking straight ahead again, just as you did at the beginning. Repeat these steps as long as your process requires them. Figure 10 shows the movements described in the preceding paragraph. The person is seen from above. Breathing Technique 2. Name. While we call this Technique 2, it is also known as exhalation, because that is what is emphasized. When used, it is used during the restoration phase, step 6, when required. Purpose, it is used for several purposes. 1, to release foreign energy, which we received from another person in the past, example, parents, former lovers, and which we experience as feelings, recurrent thoughts, or behaviors that do not belong to us. 2, to finish with promises or energetic commands that are blocking our freedom. 3. To let go of ways of behavior or emotional routines, fear of something, rancor, distrust. 4. To say goodbye and break free from people who left, but whose leaving we never accepted. Duration as required, according to your own feeling. Procedure. You begin by facing straight ahead and inhaling. While holding your breath with your lungs and abdomen full of air, turn your head to the left. Then, while you turn your head to face the right, exhale slowly, coordinating your exhalation with the movement so that by the time you are facing fully to the right, your lungs are empty. Now, with no air, turn your head to face straight ahead. Then start the whole process again, continuing for as long as you need to. See Figure 11. Breathing Technique 3. Name. This is called the sweeping breath and is a summary of the previous 2 breathing techniques. It is sometimes called emergency breathing because you use it when restoration is required and you are not clear which breathing technique is the one you need in that moment. When used, it is used during the restoration phase, step 6. Its use is optional because this breath is a substitution for techniques 1 and 2. A simple example of when its use is appropriate would be when you are dealing with an event during which you lost a great deal of energy that you need to recover, and you've also made a promise that you need to release. Here you may use the sweeping breath in substitution for the much more refined procedure of using first breathing technique 1 to recover the energy and then breathing technique 2 to release the promise. Purpose. It is used for precisely the same purposes as breathing techniques 1 and 2. Duration, as required according to your own feeling. Procedure. You begin by facing to the right. First, inhale at the same time you are turning toward the left. Then exhale while you turn back to the right, and so on. See Figure 12. Breathing Technique 4. Name. This technique is called circular breathing. When used, it is used to start the recapitulation of single events or as a series of events within isolated recapitulation sessions when the box is not employed. It is generally used by people who have finished the recapitulation of their entire life, but also want to recapitulate meaningful events that have taken place since. Purpose. Its purpose is to provide a deep level of concentration and to focus the body memory when not using the recapitulation box. Duration. As required according to your own feeling. It is important not to exceed the required duration, otherwise dizziness or nausea may occur. Procedure. This breathing should be done while moving your head in a circular way. Start by facing straight ahead, with your head tilted close to your right shoulder. Then begin making a circular movement upward toward your left shoulder. While you do this, inhale through your nose. Once you get to your left shoulder, without stopping, continue your circular movement, this time downward and toward your right shoulder. While you do this, exhale through your mouth, very softly. This is the only recapitulation breathing techniques that includes breathing through the mouth. This exhalation through the mouth should resemble the gesture of blowing into a balloon in a very soft way. At the beginning, your movement should be very slow. As you continue, your circular movement will become a little bit faster, and then faster still. However, your movements should not be so fast that they become violent. Do this technique for 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how you feel. See Figure 13. Chapter 12. Designing your personal program of recapitulation. We are getting to the end of this book. Our only pending issue is how you are going to organize your own recapitulation program in terms of space and time. This is an area in which the lack of specific instructions could stop novice practitioners before they start. Place and time. I'm going to tell you the ideal conditions for recapitulating, but please do not think that if you are not able to reach all the ideal conditions, you are not going to be able to do the recapitulation. Actually, it is rare that people have all the ideal conditions that are mentioned in the following list. Quiet and solitude are important. Your recapitulation is not going to be possible if there is a lot of noise around, or if someone opens the door of your box or calls you out for some reason. A house, cabin, attic, basement, or warehouse may work. The idea is not to recapitulate outdoors to protect you and your box from inclement weather. The ideal place would be a cabin in the woods. It is not essential, but trees are the most suitable company for somebody engaged in recapitulation. They are protective and helpful to human beings. For reasons beyond our understanding, their energetic configuration and ours have affinity. If you have a choice, mountains or hills are better than flat open regions. Unless you live by the ocean and are used to the energy of the sea, do not recapitulate too close to the beach, because the attraction of ocean energy is so strong that entering into the second attention may be a little bit more difficult. The best time for recapitulation is when other people are sleeping. It is better to have your box in the same place than to move it continually. However, if you want to take your box with you during your vacations for intensive recapitulation, it is all right to move it. Timing of your recapitulation sessions. Now for a big question. How much time are you going to spend in the whole recapitulation process? Well, the answer is not easy, because there are many affecting factors. Some of them are related to you as an individual, such as how long you have lived, how many important events of your life should be recapitulated, and how much time you need to recapitulate each event or series of events. But what will affect the time you require to complete your recapitulation are the frequency and duration of your recapitulation sessions. There is no rule in terms of the length of time that everybody should use. That is a personal decision related to your preference and availability of time. Furthermore, there are a few things you should know in advance to help you make your decision. Intensity multiplies the achievements. In other words, it is more productive to spend 100 hours distributed over 12 consecutive nights of recapitulation than to expend 150 hours in 6 months of 3-hour sessions twice a week. This is because once your body starts to recapitulate, the body memory of the experience is still going to be fresh for the next session. Also, when you recapitulate for 2 hours and then wait days before your next 2-hour session, your body needs time at the beginning of your 2 hours just to warm up the motor. No sooner are you ready to work than it is time to finish. Another aspect of the same issue is that when you recapitulate frequently enough, the recapitulation becomes the most important thing you are doing in that period of your life. It means you have a strong commitment, and a strong commitment always helps to improve results. When you recapitulate now and then, however, the force of everyday issues may easily overwhelm your process. Following these premises, our annual AVP workshop to recapitulate in boxes lasts from 14 to 21 nights, with recapitulation continuing through the night. We start with the preparation exercise at 9 p.m., enter the boxes at 10 p.m., have a half-hour break for sharing in teams or doing another exercise at 2 a.m., and then continue working in the box until 6 or 7 a.m. I know this may seem like an extreme timetable, but it is not. It is simply practical. Some of the participants sleep for a few hours during the day, but many others do not. They just go to work during the day and return to recapitulate during the night. This is possible because even though you are not spending the night sleeping as you normally do, your lack of sleep is balanced with the energy you recover and the energy wasting routines that you stop. This has been my experience in more than 13 years of work with groups and participants worldwide. With this information in mind, you can make your own plan. Additionally, find in the following list a series of models of different programs of recapitulation to provide you with an idea of how other people have solved the matter of frequency and length of recapitulation sessions. If you have vacations of 2 to 4 weeks, or you have the chance to spend every night recapitulating, take some rest during the day for that period of time. Then you may undertake a really intensive period of recapitulation. Build your box during the day before the first night. This would allow you to start in the box that same night. In this kind of super intensive model, it is useful to work based on the different stages of your life: old age, maturity, adulthood, youth, adolescence, childhood, infancy, and the prenatal state. You can give, let's say, an average of 2 or 3 nights per stage, depending on how many people and events you have in each stage. Later on in this chapter, I will talk about how to distribute the events throughout the nights of recapitulation. Another possible scenario: you might take off 2 days from your work along with the weekend, so you could work in periods of 4 days. During those periods of time, you could address specific areas from your list or relationships of certain kinds. Try to finish one area in each of these 4-day periods. You may do intensive recapitulation sessions several weekends in a row, trying to use the whole weekend and spending as much time as you can recapitulating during both the day and night. In this kind of program, it is more convenient to work on specific themes or people instead of working based on life stages. You can choose from 1 to 3 weekly sessions of 2 to 4 hours each, and maybe add another session at one point during the weekend. This certainly requires more time to finish the entire process, but it would work. With this non-intensive system, I suggest spending from 300 to 500 hours of effective work inside the box. This would take approximately a year, maybe less, maybe more, depending on your specific circumstances. As you can see, the program of recapitulation can be organized in very different ways. The examples I provide here, and even the number of hours spent inside the box, are very, very general ideas based on what we have seen in our years of practice. But in talking about a program design, we should balance those comments and examples with the fact that recapitulation is something that our body does. Therefore, every single case will be different. This means that as long as you have a real commitment to the work, you can trust your heart in terms of how much will be necessary to accomplish the process. Organizing your list. Once you have decided how often and for how long you are going to have your recapitulation sessions, what you should do next is organize your list of events. There are 3 main stages in the process of organizing your list. The first stage. In this stage, you will be selecting the most meaningful relationships and events to make a new list containing only the main events. We are going to call this new list the list for the box. It is a shorter list containing only the more significant events that outlined your life. Certainly, I could have requested from the beginning that you write down only these main events on the list. The reason for not having done so is that the work on the first list should be done thoroughly in order to help you to remember more and more and to connect with the feelings associated with the events. Nevertheless, you do not need to recapitulate every single small event from that list inside the box. It would be almost never-ending work, and you need to have results soon enough to still have time to live the new life you are looking for. For instance, in our intensive recapitulation workshops, people should have their list for the box already completed at the beginning. The number of events on it may vary a great deal, depending on how thoroughly each person has worked on his or her list. Numbers go from 1,000 to 20,000 events. Let's say that between 2,000 and 3,000 is the most common. Now, after 14 nights, recapitulating all night long, on their list for the box, they end up with around 500 events. Let me explain what I mean by series of events. In this practice, when you are recapitulating events, it is very common that they do not come as isolated incidents, but are associated with other events from the same relationship or period. In accordance with the feeling of the moment, you may group some of them to be recapitulated at once, as long as you don't do it too often. This option is only natural and helps you make the larger number of events on your list more manageable. Finally, a word about the first big list you generated. It's important to note that all the remembering of small events that are not going to be present on your final list for the box was not useless. All the work you did in registering and selecting them has given you valuable insights and will provide you with a deeper connection with your past that you need in order to do your work inside the box. The second stage. The next stage in organizing your list is deciding the criteria to be used in distributing your events over your sessions. This means deciding if you are going to organize your recapitulation based on the stages of your life: maturity, adulthood, youth, types of relationships, relatives, partners, friends, areas of your life, home, work, schools, or some other. When you are deciding what criteria you're going to use, take into account the kind of program you will have in terms of frequency and duration of the sessions: intensive, weekends, weekly sessions. See the discussion of timing and frequency earlier in this chapter. Also take into account your personal needs. Once you are clear about the criteria you will follow to organize the events, decide which category of events you are going to recapitulate first and which category is going to be recapitulated at the end. The recommendation here is to recapitulate what is more present in the current stage of your life first, and then keep going back in time with subsequent stages or themes. Now relocate the events on your list for the box in accordance with the criteria and order you have chosen to recapitulate them. This means that you will put at the top of your list the events that you are going to recapitulate in the first session, while the ones you are going to recapitulate in the last session will be located at the end of your list. The third stage. The final stage of organizing your list for the box consists of making an equitable distribution of the listed events for all the sessions you are going to have. The idea is that in all of them, you should have an equal number of events to recapitulate. Obviously, this may vary depending on how things go inside the box while you work with the events. Some of them will require more time and others less. Anyway, having that initial distribution will help you avoid having too few events in the initial sessions and too many in the last ones. For example, if you have 500 events or a series of events to be recapitulated in 14 nights, you will have slightly fewer than 36 events per night. Of course, you can do, let's say, 30 one night, 40 another night, and so on. It is okay to adjust as you go through the process. After dividing your list for the box in this way, mark the first 36 events on the top of your list, session or night 1. Then session 2 for the following 36, and so on. In addition to this, mark in some way those events that are really the most important from your list of 36, so you can keep an eye on them to prevent them from missing out on recapitulation because you run out of time. The comments and examples I have presented in this section are primarily related to an intensive program of recapitulation. It would take too long here to explain how to organize the lists for the box for each possible model of the recapitulation program. So if your program is not going to be as intensive, proceed in a way similar to the one described here, but adapt everything to your kind of program and number of sessions. One additional piece of information that may be helpful for you to know when you design your personal program is the average time that you will need to recapitulate each event. Coming from both my personal and group experiences, I would say that each event or series of events is recapitulated in periods of time that may vary from 5 to 30 minutes. The average seems to be between 10 and 15 minutes. It should be clear that each experience and person is different, and these are simply approximations. Final tips and hints. I can add tips and suggestions for dealing with only the kinds of problems and doubts I have seen people experiencing throughout 13 years of working with recapitulation groups. From the present to the past, or from the past to the present. Organizing from the present to the past the names of the people on your list or the themes you are going to recapitulate does not mean that you have to recapitulate the events associated with them in this order. Let's say you are going to recapitulate the people of your present life. You can recapitulate the events associated with them, starting from the time when you first met them and finishing with the most recent events you lived with them. But you have the option of starting with the most recent events and finishing with the earliest ones, if you feel that doing so would work better for you. About distraction while recapitulating. When you are recapitulating, it is common that some other thoughts or events, example different from the ones you are trying to recapitulate, may attract your attention. Sometimes people become confused because they don't know whether or not it is correct to stop trying to recapitulate the original event and instead process the event that appears unexpectedly. There is no one correct solution for this problem. While sometimes it is good to follow the new event, other times it may not be. It depends on the origin of this new event. If the emerging event has to do with an authentic request from your energetic body, which is showing you the inner need to recapitulate that event, you should follow the feeling instead of pursuing what is on your agenda. On the other hand, if the emerging event is just a trick of your ego to distract you, or even just the consequence of your lack of training in keeping your attention focused, make an effort to recover concentration and keep going with the original event. The big problem, of course, is how to determine whether the emerging event comes from a distraction of your rational mind or from your energetic body. No easy solution, my friend. Just follow your feeling and try to do your best. It should be clear that recapitulation is a formal and accurate procedure only on paper. In a real situation, it is something that our body does while we try to organize, provoke, and direct what our body is doing. The bottom line is that the energetic body has the control, and we should surrender to its demands. Actually, the only purpose of the energetic body is to follow the healing process. The energy body wants its energy back. Therefore, it is okay to trust its request. At the same time, we should balance this trust in the energetic body, left side, with a sober and disciplined organization from our normal awareness, right side. In other words, too much spontaneity would be as wrong as too much rigidity. In the end, no matter what you decide to do, trust your decision. That is the warrior's way. Maybe you were right. Maybe you were wrong. However it is, that unique and personal decision in your heart was all that you had. Nobody could demand anything else from you.